G'day, Matt here. This channel is called The Right Car, and this could be the right car for you if you're looking for a sporty wagon. It's the Cupra Leon Sportstourer, and it's just been updated. In fact, a year ago to the day, I was basically stood on this exact spot bringing you an update about that car and whether it would come to Australia. Now it's been confirmed. In this review, I'm going to tell you what you need to know before it arrives in 2025. So let's go take a look, shall we? We don't know how much it's going to cost, and we don't know exactly what's going to come as standard, but we do know that there will be two versions of the Cupra Leon Sportstourer offered in Australia. The VZE, which is the plug-in hybrid model, this one here, and also the VZX, which is the more powerful Golf R spec version, and it has plenty of grunt. I'll tell you about that when we open the bonnet shortly, but you can expect a very, very well-equipped car if you are considering this model. Things like matrix LED headlights with these beautiful LED daytime running lights. You're also expecting big wheels as standard, as you would expect from a Cupra, beautiful interior trim, and likely a sunroof as well. So look, I reckon it's going to stack up pretty well in terms of the standard equipment, but the pricing could be critical. I'd love to know what you think they should be charging for this car. I would think somewhere around $60,000 to $70,000. Do you think that's too much? I've got some alternatives that might be better for your wallet if that's the case. I think the best alternative to this is actually the Skoda Octavia RS. Sure, it's a slightly bigger car, but it's fun, it's fast, and it's practical, and if that's what you need, it could stack up really well as well. The value perspective for that vehicle is quite compelling, I would say. It also gets a 7-year warranty, which you're not going to get with a Cupra. Now, another option you might want to consider is the Cupra Leon hatchback, which obviously is a smaller, slightly less practical car, but it does promise to have a few different variants available at a lower price point, and I think it's a great looking thing and also really good fun to drive. And finally, you might want to also go and check out the Peugeot 308. It's available in a hatchback, and I think it's a very design focused car, and if that's what you're looking for, something European with a bit of flair, it could be a good choice for you. And it's also pretty rare as well. There's not many of those cars on the road. Take that as you will. Or you could just buy a Volkswagen Golf. You could choose a Golf Wagon in a base spec, or you could choose the Golf R hatchback. Look, there's plenty of options. Tell me which one you'd pick. The updated look for the Cupra Leon Tourer is definitely more assertive than the last one. I'm not so sure that I like it more than the last one, but it does fall into line with the other Cupra models that have come out since. So I reckon in profile, it's a really good looking car. This paint finish is awesome. It's like a matte green, and this one here is the plug-in hybrid. That's your plug-in point for electricity. The petrol point is on the other side. And look, I think that this does have a really sleek design to it, and yes, it's not too big either. I'll put the length on your screen now so you can see. It's about the same size as the old Golf R Wagon was. Hey, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? It's got the horizontal light bar that runs across the back. This Cupra badge illuminates as well, and the button to open the boot is actually tucked in over here underneath the taillight. Now, let's have a look in the boot and see what we're dealing with. As you can see, it is a sizable space, definitely going to be family friendly. We've loaded this car up over the last couple of days with plenty of luggage, and it did the job admirably. Now, something that you might not love about it is that it does have a tire repair kit. That's because underneath the boot floor, you've got your charging cable area in the plug-in hybrid, and that's your battery pack underneath there. So look, that's maybe not ideal for some people, and the all-wheel drive petrol version does have a space saver, so that might better suit your needs, but hey, it's not quite as efficient as this one. But let's talk about space efficiency as well. There are some really good, clever features in here. You've got some shopping bag hooks, these quick release levers for the back seats, and you've got more shopping bag hooks up the front there as well. And yes, another quick release lever, little storage area for a first aid kit, and on that side is your tire repair kit. Yep, you've also got this cargo blind, which is a pretty handy thing to have, and oh, it's got the shimmies, and it looks pretty good. I reckon this boot space is going to be a handy enough one for most families' needs. Well, small families anyway. There have been some changes to this updated Leon, which do make it more livable than the previous one. And a lot of it comes down to this new media screen. So the controls have been rejigged on this screen, and it is far simpler to interact with than it was before. Like, just on a daily basis, you will notice that this, compared to the last Leon hatch that was offered in Australia, is an improvement. So little things that make it easier to live with include these little favorites sections that you can set up the top of the screen. And yes, there is an energy control section here. So yes, you can adjust whether you're driving in electric mode or in hybrid mode. You can preserve a bit of battery if you need to, for whatever reason. In Europe, you might need to drive in fully electric mode in certain areas. Australia doesn't have those sorts of restrictions just yet, but maybe it will at some point in the future. You can also adjust your energy regeneration for the brake system there as well. Now, there's plenty of other menus beyond that. You've got all your driver assistance features in here as well, including things like your side assist, so that's blind spot monitoring, your speed warning. It just has a bunch of different menus upon menus. But if you're thinking to yourself, well, that all looks a little bit fiddly, you can just drop down here and you can turn off your lane keeping there and your speed sign recognition there, which is definitely advantageous to have it at a quick push of the screen. You don't have to worry too much about it. But what's even better is that there's controls on the steering wheel that allow you to adjust that using the steering wheel controls. So you hit this little button here and you can turn off the lane assist and speed warning if you don't like them, using this little toggle here. So just jump between those, turn them off if you don't like them. And for me, it's great that there's a few different ways, because that means basically you can do things while you're driving and have your Apple CarPlay or whatever connected up to the screen instead. All of that just makes it easier to live with. These controls are just better laid out than they were before, and I do like this screen now. I didn't really gel with it that much before, and I reckon there's still things that could be improved. Honestly, a set of dials wouldn't go astray for the climate control, but you do have this home bar down the bottom, which is easy to adjust at times. You've also got the volume slider for the audio system. No volume dial apart from the one on the steering wheel over here. So it all works out pretty well, this screen, I would say. And obviously there's plenty of practicality in this car as well. USB-C ports down here, a wireless phone charger, a couple of little trays either side of this stubby little shifter. You've got an electric park brake, some cup holders, a center console bin with a bit of storage, decent sized bottle holders in the doors as well, and these lovely seats. These are very, very comfortable seats. It's almost like they took a skeleton and went, yeah, we need it to be comfortable. Maybe they did, I don't know. Now this grade's also got the big panoramic glass roof with a cover as well, which is great to see. An auto dimming rear vision mirror, nice fold down sun visors with a mirror as well, of course, and illumination, and it all feels very high-end and plush. I'm really a big fan of what Cupra has done with its design language on the inside of its cars, because there's just this beautiful design that emanates across the cabin. You've got this copper stitching on the steering wheel, which is mirrored up on top of the dashboard and over to the other side. This, I don't know, it's like fish scales on the dashboard there as well. All of the materials look pretty good and they feel pretty good as well. There's nice soft elbow pads everywhere, and yes, this is soft on top as well, but in the back it's not. It's a bit cheapo in the back. But hey, let's jump in the back now and have a closer look, shall we? This seat is set for my driving position. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. Look how much space I've got in front of my legs. Like heaps. Good footroom as well. For a sporty seat, it's great to be able to have footroom for the rear passenger. And headroom, yeah, it's good as well. Maybe not excellent, maybe not as good as some of those Cupra SUVs, but it's certainly going to be enough to fit taller adults in the back. Now, let's have a look at the seat situation here as well. You do have ISOFIX points in the window seats, 3 top tethers, and a flip down armrest with cup holders. There's also that ski port, that load through port there as well. And the amenities are good too. You've got these decent sized bottle holders in the doors, soft elbow pads there, but yeah, that's scratchy on top. That's maybe not ideal, but it's also maybe a bit nitpicky. One thing that isn't great is no map pockets on these seats, but I guess those in front are more important than those in the back in that situation. You've also got climate control, USB-C ports, directional air vents, and a bit of a transmission tunnel to contend with, but hey, I reckon as a 4-seater, it'll be a very, very comfortable family car, or as a 5-seater if you've got little ones as well. It's very good. Oh, also, grab handles in the back, little coat hook. You've also got lights up here as well. nice touch sensitive ones. And there's a little cargo net section here. So if you do need to fold down the seats and you get a cargo net, you can basically net off behind those front seats. It's all very practical and very nice. There are going to be two different powertrains available in this model range. This one is the plug-in hybrid. You'll see the power and torque figures for it on your screen now. Yeah, 200 kilowatts from a plug-in hybrid. It is a very punchy powertrain. It's got a dual clutch automatic transmission, a pretty big battery pack, an electric motor to help it run on EV only, or kick the petrol engine into life and run as a hybrid if that's what you prefer. Now, I'll do a bit more detail on what driving modes you can do when you are driving and when we're driving together in a couple of sections time. And then there's also going to be the more powerful, potent 245 kilowatt VZX model. Now that one seems to be the one that you will want if you are into the performance driving element of this car. Definitely plenty of grunt from that 2-litre turbo engine. It's basically the new Golf R Wagon, this car, if you're considering it like that. So I reckon, honestly, it's stacking up pretty well from the powertrain stuff, but let's talk about the plug-in hybrid range and efficiency and the stuff you need to know about the battery pack. So your charge port is on the front passenger side for Australia, front driver's side for Europe. You do have now AC charging at a maximum rate of 11 kilowatts, which is very, very good. And also there's DC charging available for this plug-in hybrid now too. That's because it's got a bigger battery pack. I'll put the DC charge rate on your screen now and how long it should take to replenish the battery. And also I'll put on the battery capacity for you to have a look at and see what you think. I reckon that that does offer a pretty decent amount of range. You'll see the claimed range figure on your screen now. Yes, this could be a very, very compelling plug-in hybrid for a family that does a lot of urban commuting, but also needs something that's practical for long distance runs. And I'm going to tell you what the efficiency was like for both in the driving section, so stay tuned. Right, so if you're new to the whole plug-in hybrid thing, the concept in theory is this: electric when you want it, petrol when you need it. And I think that's the best way to approach a plug-in hybrid. So you've got a battery pack, it allows you to drive in fully electric mode up to like 100 kilometers in the instance of this car. And then if you need to kick over the petrol engine, well, it'll do that and it'll run as a hybrid in that instance. So you will find that this is a real-world efficient car in a mix of scenarios, and the EV driving range of 100 k's or so for this model is surprisingly very realistic in terms of what you're able to achieve in urban driving and even a bit of highway commuting as well. So it's definitely going to be well suited to the Australian market, I think. The previous one had about half the amount of EV range compared to this, but this one, 100 k's, that makes it like real world possible in terms of being able to commute to work and back, maybe even do that twice on one charge. And then you'll be able to enjoy the fact that you don't need to think about it when you go for a longer drive. You can just keep going. You don't need to think about charging if you don't want to, although it does have DC charging for the battery pack this time around as well if you want to top up while you're on the road trip, whatever it may be. But I think that this application of this technology is more convincing now than ever when you're getting a decent sized battery pack with a very, very good amount of EV driving range capable. But I will say that some other cars tend to do the integration of this powertrain technology into the controls of the car just a little bit better. Having to do so much through the screen is a tad frustrating, but it is a way that Cupra has been able to basically save a bit of money, because having it through software is easier than having dedicated buttons around the cabin or toggles or controls. So it's just something you might want to keep in mind, especially if you're a fiddler like me. If you like to go and basically adjust things all the time, then having so much through the screen might not be your ideal. Okay, so for instance, I'm just going to go into the screen. I want to drive in EV mode because it was in hybrid when I started up. And yes, I noticed after a big drive yesterday in this car, it had managed to get almost 100 kilometers of EV driving range. I'll tell you a bit more about the efficiency in a sec, but that does make it a real world possibility in terms of being able to just have EV as part of your life, but not have to commit to a full EV in order to do that. My biggest criticism with this car is actually the brake pedal feel. For a performance-oriented wagon, I just wish there was a bit more bite to the top of the pedal. That's because it's got regen braking and it never has that same sort of bitiness that you get from a standard car that doesn't have regen brakes. Obviously, the fact that it does have those brakes means that it can constantly feed energy back to the system when you lift off the accelerator. It will be doing that if you set it in the most assertive mode. And it's not like a single pedal driving mode like an EV or anything like that, but it is improved compared to the last version I drove, which had far less feel through the pedal and also less effective regen braking. Yesterday we drove over some pretty challenging roads as well, with seriously twisty sections, and I was just blown away at the way this car has a dedicated control to it. Like, it is very manageable in corners, you've got darty steering, and it's pretty quick to react as well. And also, I'll just say that because it's got the adaptive suspension system, going over speed humps like this, it is a family-friendly wagon. It is definitely going to tick the box for someone who wants something that's fun and family-friendly. And like, I'm that person. This is like my dream car because it does so much so well. It's fun, it's fast, it's frugal, and it's functional. And I think it's going to be a smash hit if it's priced right. And like, I know Spanish roads are different to Australian roads, but in some ways they're very similar. Some of the surfaces are pretty rough and some of the speed humps are pretty sharp. So I reckon that it does offer you a pretty good representative idea of what this car will be like when it arrives in Australia in 2025. But if you haven't already, please like, subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll be updated when I drive it in Australia, and I'll be able to tell you all the pricing and spec details that you really need to know, because I think that'll determine this car's fate in our market. All right, let's talk about fuel consumption for the plug-in hybrid version of the Cupra Leon Sportstourer. You'll see the number on your screen now, which is the official figure. And yes, I mean, I've always said that for a plug-in hybrid, you could basically take that as what's possible for your first 100 Ks, but not your next 100 Ks. And over the first 100 Ks, you'll see what I saw on this test. And yeah, that's pretty impressive. And over the next 100 Ks, it was still very impressive. 4.8 litres per 100 Ks when it was running as a hybrid. So it is a real world efficient car. And if you are looking for that, it's also very practical as well. To me, the Leon makes a lot of sense. The 100 Ks of EV driving range being actually achievable makes this a different proposition to some of the other plug-in hybrids that have come before it. The pricing will be critical, I think. Tell me what you think it should cost for the plug-in hybrid model when it arrives in Australia. I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you haven't already, please ring the bell to keep up to date with all of my reviews, and you'll be able to see when I do my Aussie test of this car in 2025. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you when I see you.